Hey guys, Vasy back here, and I have another testing EA NHL video here today. And today's topic is going to be testing the goalie coach in franchise mode. And what do I mean by testing the goalie coach? We're going to be doing two different types of simulations here. We're going to be going 3 seasons at each, and that's a decent enough sample size. One of them is going to have the worst goalie coach we can find when it comes to teaching rating, and then we're going to hire the best and try and get an A+. I more or less just want to see what is the difference in growth, is there any difference in performance, and anything like that. So with that being said, let us meet our goalie for today's simulation. Alright, so I just finished creating our player, and here he is. Meet Test Goalie. He is going to be the goaltender that we use for this whole simulation. Again, he is going to be the most generic goalie we can possibly have, and we're going to just see how the difference in coaching affects him overall. He is going to be drafted out of the US Development League, but again, that shouldn't affect anything here. He has the medium starter potential. Again, it's just the most average potential you can have in game, along with medium top 4 and medium top 6, along with 75 for everything when it comes to attributes. It gives him the 65 overall rating to start. And then obviously no X factors at all. If he grows any, he does, but we will find that out in the simulation. So let's go see where he's drafted, and then we'll start today's test. So for today's simulation, I ended up deciding to use the New Jersey Devils. They need a goalie, so why not use them? Again, the team really shouldn't matter at all. Let's go and draft our player, Test Goalie here. Goes in the 4th round, had a pretty decent year in the US Development League. 911 save, 2.85 goals against. Yeah, it's a pretty good season for him. Let us draft him out of that league. Again, he is going to come out with those baseline stats at a 65 overall, 75 for all his individual stats. So the only other thing that we have to do is go hire a horrible goalie coach, and then we can start today's experiment. Sorry, one last thing before we start today's test. I forgot to mention auto-rotate goalies is going to be off for this, so our goalie will be playing all 82 games for each of these seasons. Now let's get to year number 1. So starting off the first season here with our bad goalie coach, you will see here that Test Goalie, once he is signed and everything out of the draft, he hasn't grown at all. He's still at his exact baseline stats, being that 4th round pick in that previous year's NHL draft. So quick look at the NHL team. When it comes to the NHL team, that's going to be totally handled by the AIs, so I'm going to have no input in any of the signings or trades, anything like that. But now I'll meet you guys back at the next year NHL intro draft to see how our player develops. Alright, so the first season of simulation is now complete. Let's go and look at all the stats. When it comes to the team overall, the New Jersey Devils were actually able to sneak into a playoff spot, finishing 40, 35, and 7. And honestly, I wasn't really expecting that with a 65 overall goalie in net, but our Test Goalie was able to carry them to a playoff spot. Let's go see how he growed there after 1 season. So in the system, Test Goalie is now up to a 69 overall at 19 years of age. Again, the wins, losses, and overtime losses will be exactly the same. Save percentage with an 895, and a 3.39 goals against. Did have 6 shutouts. Playoff numbers again aren't great here overall, finishing 7 and 7. Went on a decent little run. I guess the team was just really carrying him. Preseason numbers actually aren't horrible. You'll see the individual stats. Looks like the poise actually went up most of anything, which is interesting. I didn't really realize that stat grew too much. But yeah, there's a brief look at everything for you guys there. So now, let me go and simulate to the start of year number 2. We'll see if he grows over the off season, and then start the simulation for the next year. So now that we have reached year number 2, you will see that Test Goalie over the course of the summer unfortunately did not grow at all whatsoever. All these stats, everything is exactly the same, still is 69 overall at the age of 19. You will see that when it comes to the team overall, I think most of it is the same here. I don't really know what the computer's been doing, to be honest. Not sure why Hamilton's on the third pairing either, but that is just what the computer likes to do, I guess. But now that all that is out of the way, let me sim up another season and I'll catch back with you guys at the next NHL entry draft. So now that that season is complete, another very decent run for the New Jersey Devils, surprisingly. Looking at the team, they finished with a record of 45, 28, and 9. They ended up winning their division with 99 points. Very solid season for them. Again, with a goalie that doesn't have the highest overall, it's very surprising, but good to see as well. But with that being said, let's go take a look at our goalie prospect for our experiment here. And he's up to a 74 overall at age 20. So 2 years in, he has grown by 9 total, which is actually not too bad. Looking at the stats, again, 905 save, 3.04 goals against. It's not great, but it's definitely improvements upon his rookie years, so that overall is good to see. He put up 1 assist in each season, that's funny. Comes to the playoff stats, he actually had really good playoff numbers. Wow, 916 save, 2.64 goals against. That's very, very solid numbers. Preseason was not great, unfortunately, there, but that's very surprising. And then looking at individual stats, again, poise is up again to 85. That was a stat I really didn't think ever grew, so that's something there that I've learned already with this experiment. But now that we know what he is like after 2 seasons, let's go and sim to the start of year number 3, and we'll finish the 3rd year of simulation with the bad goalie coach, and then we will have everything reset. Alright, so we have 1 more year of simulation here with this goalie coach, and unfortunately again, no growth whatsoever over the course of the off season. Still stuck at a 74 overall here. Looking at the team again, nothing too crazy here. It looks like Tarasenko was added, Corey Stone on the 4th line, Hamilton again on that 3rd pairing, but overall a very good coach. I do have to share with you guys, unfortunately our really bad goalie coach did retire, so I did end up having to go and hire another one here. Again, he's horrible overall, he doesn't teach, doesn't really do anything good, so it's going to more or less give the same results, but yeah, unfortunately our original coach did retire after 2 seasons. With that being said, I'll meet you guys at the year 3 NHL entry draft, and we'll see where this goalie finishes off. So, after 3 years of simulation, another very good result for the New Jersey Devils, as once again they were a playoff team. They also won the division again with 99 points again as well. 44, 27, and 11. Very, very respectable numbers here from the New Jersey Devils, which is great to see. With that being said, how did our rookie goalie here end up developing after his 3 seasons? Let's go find that out. So he will finish at a 79 overall at age 21. So that's actually pretty good for really 3 seasons. I would definitely take that when I'm doing a franchise mode. Again, really good stats too in the regular season, 916 save, that's not bad. Playoff numbers aren't great once again. And preseason, again, not amazing, but I'm really surprised here. That's actually some pretty good growth over the course of 3 seasons with a bad goalie coach, so I'm curious, when we change the coaches, is it going to really matter too much? We'll have to see. With that being said, I'm going to go and reset back to the autosave, and then we will fire this goalie coach, and then we will hire one that is much better overall. Perfect, so everything has been exactly reset. Again, this was the exact same save point we used when we started the simulation. Let's go fire this goalie coach. Again, we don't need him at all now. Let's go hire someone with a very good A+ teaching and see if that affects anything here whatsoever. So let's just find the youngest guy so he doesn't retire on us this time. What do we have here? Oh, there's an age 46 down there. Let's just bring this guy on. He's D-rated. Again, Dwight Kennedy, give him 5 years, NHL goalie coach. Give him the most amount of money as possible to bring him in. So I'll meet back at the preseason, and then we'll start this 3 years of simulation. So back at the year 1 preseason, again you'll see that our goalie is 65 overall. All these stats again are once again 75 overall, so we're right back at that same point. Again, the team for the most part, it's just 1 off season, so the changes won't be too major. Teddy Bluger there I saw is added in, Brandon Duhaime. But overall, it's more or less just the core of the New Jersey Devils. I don't know why he likes Hamilton on that third pairing. Interesting to say the least, but I'll meet you guys back at the first year NHL entry draft to see how much he grows with the better coach. So after simulating the first year here in NHL 24, it was a tough one for the Devils. It was a bit of a heartbreaker, unfortunately. We missed the playoffs by 1 point. We were in it until literally the last game where we lost the Maple Leafs. I believe it was like 6-3. And just like that, we were out of our playoff spot. So for the first time in this test, we did miss the playoffs. Again, I don't really know how that's going to affect growth, but it's tough to say. There's so many different variables, but let's see what our goalie is up to here after the first season. So going in the system, he is up to a 72 overall already. So that's already a +3 from when he had the bad coach. That's actually a very promising start. Again, the record's exactly the same, but a 901 save, a 3.19 goals against. That's very, very solid numbers here for such a low overall. Preseason is not amazing, but these results are very promising to me, and I'm very curious to see again, like over the course of 3 seasons, how much more of an impact is this going to make. Only one way to find out. I'll meet you guys back at the start of season number 2. So back with the New Jersey Devils here at the start of year number 2. And again, unfortunately, our goalies just aren't growing over the course of the offseason, which again, I'm really not sure why that's the case, but he is still stuck at that 72 overall rating, and none of the individual stats would have changed at all. When it comes to the team, any huge changes? Nick Cousins there, that's nothing crazy. Defensively, more or less the same Devils, so let's see how our test goalie here will do starting the season at a 72 overall. I'll meet you guys back once again at the NHL entry draft, and we will check in on his progress. Alright, so the second year of simulation is now complete. It was a better year here for the New Jersey Devils as we did once again return to the playoffs, finishing with a record of 43, 31, and 8 with 94 points total, and yet once again that was good for a playoff spot. So now that is basically, what is that, 4 out of 5 seasons now that we have made the playoffs, which is again is very interesting to me. I would not have said that going into this experiment, but that is the results that we're getting. So in the system here, looking at our goalie, he's up to a 77 overall after 2 seasons of simulation. Again, that's still a better pace than what the worse off goalie coach was doing. Numbers overall look almost basically exactly the same. Not really any improvement, not really any decline, basically exactly the same, which is once again very curious. But one thing I do want to point out, in between years 1 and 2, that season, I believe both goalie coaches got the exact same growth, being +5. It's just that the better overall goalie coach gave him a better year 1 growth, if that makes any sense. So there's only one more year to simulate here. I'll meet you guys back at the preseason of year number 3. Alright, so this is going to be the last year that we're going to need to be simulating here for this video. And once again, unfortunately, no growth over the course of the off season. Again, yeah, really not sure why that's the case, but it is what it is. Starting off again at a 77 overall should be pretty decent and should have decent results. Again, at this team here, a couple of changes, nothing too crazy. Defensively, I don't really think there's any changes at all there. But for the last time, I'll meet you guys back at the NHL entry draft and we will check out the final progress. The New Jersey Devils decided to keep the best for last and had their best season of simulation here in the last year, finishing with a total of 50 wins, 25 losses, and 7 overtime losses for 107 points. They tied the division with the Rangers, but they got the tiebreaker, unfortunately. Still an incredible season from the New Jersey Devils. Let's go see where our goaltender finished up after this simulation. So going in the system, our test goalie is up to an 81 overall. So that's not bad. That's an improvement on the lesser off goalie coach, as he finished at a 79 overall compared to the 81 overall. The numbers are amazing. Just looking at that very quickly here, I haven't seen these yet. Preseason was actually pretty good in that 7-game sample size. I'm curious though, it's not the biggest jump in overall between the two coaches. There is something, and again, I'm not sure. There's so many different factors when it comes to player development in this game and what causes players to grow and what doesn't. So I'm not sure if it's really right down to the coach or not, but he did finish better with the better coach. So in conclusion, does the goalie coach really matter all that much? And I'm not totally sold, if I'm being honest. I found this out after the video was concluded. I wanted to look at just both the overall stats. They played the exact same amount of games and everything like that. The better goalie coach did have the better overall wins, loss records, everything like that. But the worse off coach actually put up better statistical numbers when it comes to save percentage and goals against average. Again, a lot of it's going to have to do with how the team's playing in front of him, so it is kind of hard to test in that regard, but it is just an interesting thing that I did want to mention here in the conclusion. So, I don't know. What do you guys take from these results? Do you think that coaching matters after watching this video and looking at the overall stats? I don't really know if it does, if I'm being honest. I think honestly, if I'm playing a franchise mode, I still hire the better guy, because really, why not? There's no real disadvantage, and more or less the money for goalie coaches is going to be so low that it really won't matter, even playing with owner mode on. So I would still hire the better goalie coach, but I'm just not really too sure how much of an impact he's going to have on growing your players and prospects. But definitely leave your thoughts in the comments down below. That is going to do it for today's video of testing EA NHL. Definitely let me know what do you guys want to see in future videos. I'll see what I can do. But until then, I'll see you all in the next video.